What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm back with more story times. This is a little bit more interesting and more different from my other ones. If you're a new viewer, please subscribe to this channel, turn on the bell notifications to automatically tell you when I post another video. So yeah, I've been in my house for the longest time, in a long time, and this quarantine just has me all making inside videos because I can't do much because we're in quarantine, you know? I wanted to do a little bit of vlogs, but I can't because I'm afraid of being arrested. So yeah. So for now, I have story times and I have to do inside videos because I might get in trouble if I go outside. So for today's video, I decided to tell a story time of when one of my uncles saw a little boy in my house when my whole family was out. It was pretty interesting for me to hear this from my dad because like I didn't know about this story until like probably a few weeks passed after the incident. I am not really a person that's a fan of paranormal stuff because I don't like paranormal stuff. Like honestly, I'm so scared of like spirits and ghosts. Oh, I think that's the same thing, right? And demons. I'm so scared of that stuff. Like I'm not a I'm not that type of person. So that's the reason why I don't watch a lot of horror movies or paranormal like discoveries, you know what I mean? Like on the on TV because all that stuff just has me like yeah. I remember I saw this movie that's called La Cueva del Diablo and I couldn't sleep for one night. And because of like that was the most scariest I've seen. So yeah, I couldn't sleep that same night. I couldn't sleep. I literally was like, dude, what if this happens right now? You know what I mean? I still watch horror movies, but like some of them, I'm not really a fan of them. So yeah, but anyways, let's go to the story time because that's the only reason why you click this video. And you're probably you're probably confused already, being like, are you like making this stuff up, or like are you like going crazy and stuff? I'm like I don't know, dude. Like I literally don't know, dude. There was this one time when we went to church in the afternoon. I don't know if we went like on a Saturday or a Sunday because those are the only dates for church like around where I live. So I don't remember if I went on the Saturday or the Sunday, but we went to church like on one of those days. Ever since like we were kids, my dad always like forced us to go like in family. So all of us have to go to church, you know, and it keeps like being that way till now, you know. And well yeah, so that day so since we all went to church that day, we were at church for like an hour and my uncle and so yeah, so we were at church for like an hour, and as soon as we got out, so my dad saw his phone that he left in the car, and he saw that he had a lot of missed calls from my uncle, and he called him back to see like what was like the emergency, because like a person does not call a lot of times to like, you know, if it wasn't an emergency. So yeah, my dad called him back, and my as soon as my uncle picked up, he was like, my dad was like, hey, so I have a few missed calls from you, like what's up? And my uncle was like, oh well, I was just wanting to make sure of something, and I was calling you to like know if you were at your house. And my dad was like, no, I just came from church, I wasn't at my house. And my uncle was like, are you sure you're not joking around with me? My dad was like, no, I'm not. And my uncle was like, are you sure you didn't leave like you're one of your kids like in the house, especially like your son? And my dad was like, no, my wife along with my kids were at church recently, okay, and we just came out, you know. So my uncle was like, if you're not joking around with me and all your families was at church, so who was that little boy I saw like inside your house? And my dad was like, what, you know, like a little boy in my house? And my uncle was like, yes, there was a little boy in your house, so and that's the reason why I thought it was your kid. And my dad was like, that's weird, you know. And my uncle explained everything to him on the phone. I'm just gonna tell how this happened. According to my dad, he told me that my uncle told him, so we have like a glass door. I don't know how to call it, or how is it called, because I don't know, I just call it a glass door. But I'll put a little picture right here so you guys can like picture how it looks like, because I don't think I'm being specific enough. We have one of those like next to our driveway. So my uncle parked in front of that door, and he could see perfectly the view of like if what's going on inside. He just stood there for a while, because while he was standing there, I think from the distance he saw like a boy coming down like from the hall to a little counter we have like close to like that door. And he just hid there and stood there for like a while, and then like my uncle was convinced that my dad was here, at least thought that that boy was my brother, the oldest one. My uncle was convinced that my dad was probably in the house, even though the lights were off, you know. So my uncle got off of the car. So as soon as my uncle knocked on the glass, the little boy turned around and walked back to the hall. Since my uncle thought that was my brother, he stood there for a while because he thought that my brother was going to tell my dad to come out because like he was here already. So since he stood there for a while, he decided to go back to his car, and my uncle wasn't alone. There was actually somebody with him, and both of them witnessed this. So yeah, so they were just in the car like hoping that my dad will come out, but you know, he never came. And so like in the car, he was telling his friend that he saw a boy in there, and he thinks it was my brother's. He decided to wait in the car. They faced back to the door, and they saw like the little boy was coming back to stand next to the counter and just show his face like a little bit like out of the counter. So my uncle told his friend that he was gonna go and knock again, and this time ask my brother if my dad was there. And so yeah, so my uncle got off his car and went knock on the door again, and the boy walked back to the hall again. And this time he was like confused, because like my uncle thought that the little boy, which he thought it was my brother, thought he was gonna open the door to ask him if like my dad was like in the house, you know. So they did get chills or something, um because like it was already weird enough for them to be scared. So yeah, after that they got on the car and left, and they were already had like these feelings of fear, so they went back to their house. And when my dad called them back about why they called my dad a lot of times, they were already at their house, but they were already like in fear, you know. And when my dad told him that everybody was at church and nobody was at the house, my uncle got even more scared, because that was just weird, you know. When my dad told me this, I thought this was cool. I don't know why. Just because like at that time I was like, wait, there was a boy in her house? That's so cool. But like now I'm just like, but then later on, I'm just like, that's weird. And so yeah. And my uncle said that this boy was wearing like a long white shirt that went up to his knee. My uncle said that he couldn't see his face, because since all the lights in my house were off, they only saw like the white clothes he was wearing. And but the face, it was like dark, or I don't know, like, and I imagine that it was like you can always see like the clothes, but like the face is kind of like black or something, and the hair was just showing. My uncle said a few times the boy turned around, like he saw his like the back of his head, but he couldn't see his face. The child never showed his face. Just gotta say, I never had experienced and like seeing anything. So, but I have heard of some few things in this house, but they're not that scary. I don't know, but like, yeah, there was actually like another person that saw this. But this probably is another story from another for another time. I haven't experience of seeing something in here in the house, but I have heard some things, like little things, you know. And it usually happens when I'm alone and there's like none of the TVs in my house are on, and nothing is on, you know. So there was this one time when my a whole family went out, and I had to stay home doing my homework because it was due soon. So I had to do my homework, and everything was shut off besides like the lights, right? But um, like all the TVs were off, and I didn't have any noise because I was here like in my desk, like doing my homework, and all of a sudden I hear like little footsteps like in the hallway, but my door was also open, so I turned around, but there wasn't anything, you know. You know how you hear like a little kid running, you know. I don't know if you guys have heard like little kids running like in the hallways and stuff. That's the sound I heard when I was like alone in this house. Also, I have neighbors, like their house is stuck to us, so it's just divided inside, it's just divided. So everybody here and my neighbors hear like random marbles clicking, and to my understand, I little kids play with those marbles. In Mexico they play a lot. It's like this game right here. So I'm gonna put a little picture over here. Well, as soon as you flick one of the marbles in your hand, it makes like a clicking sound inside the little circle, and that's how it sounds like in my house. And I think I hear it between the walls. Everybody in my house has heard, and also our neighbors hear like these marbles clicking, you know. And and they think it's like they think it's coming from our house, but we think it's coming from their house. Like that's how it goes, and we have clear that it's not coming from us. And so yeah, it's pretty weird. We don't think much about it because like, yeah, it's just like it's something that we're not worried about. It's something that we're not worried about a lot. So there's that little story time. It's a little bit weird, but yeah. And I hope I don't see anything, because I'm pretty sure if I see something like, I'm sure if I see something like this, I'm going to get a heart attack. Honestly, I had to be honest with myself. Yeah, I don't have the luck of seeing spirits. So yeah, everybody's different. Some people see stuff like this. Apparently, I'm not one of those people. I don't know if I should feel proud of that or not, because some part of me kind of wants to see that, but part of me doesn't want to, because I'm pretty sure if I see something like this, I'm gonna get a heart attack. Most likely. Yeah, there's a few other mysteries out there. I think there's only like 2 mysteries about this place. So I'm gonna tell you guys a fact. So this house was built in 2015, somewhere right there, because I moved that year to this house. Um, but before this house was built, there was another house where old people were living in that house that was already here before this house was built. So there's probably a little history to that. And I think this story time happened like 2 years ago. I think I was still in school or somewhere around there, because it was like recently. So it wasn't that even long ago when this happened. So yeah. And yeah, there's a few other stories about this house, you know, out there, because I've heard some of them. And but I still sleep like a baby in this house. I don't know how, right? But yeah. So anyways, I'm gonna end the video right here. I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you back in my next video. Bye.